And Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara joins me now for more on the aftermath of that deadly ICE shooting. Chief, first, thank you for your time. But I want to start by asking you, in the more than 24 hours, I guess, now that has transpired since that incident, what's been the biggest challenge for your police force?
Well, this police force is still very much depleted as a result of the destruction of the city that occurred here, the aftermath of 2020. This is a police force that typically had about 900 police officers, and more than 500 of the men and women who were here in 2020 have since separated. So it's a staff with 600 cops today. We've canceled all of our days off. We've recalled people to duty, and we're going to continue that posture going forward because we have known for several weeks that the situation on the ground here has been incredibly tense, and have been warning people very publicly for weeks that I was concerned that a tragedy could happen in the city, and then the aftermath of that, the potential for civil unrest. So our officers responded yesterday immediately. If there was a report of a shooting, they secured the crime scene, and then they did everything in their power to try and de-escalate a very rapidly evolving and very, very tense situation. And they did so incredibly well, and were able to maintain the peace and continue to do that throughout the night. There have been large gatherings. We've had protests and marches around the city. The overwhelming majority of the people who have participated in that have all been lawful and peaceful. And we are doing everything that we can to ensure people that we will protect people's rights to First Amendment rights to peaceably assemble, and their rights to, protest government activity. But we need everyone in our community to be making sure that we maintain the peace.
Certainly, and that's a message that we've heard from you. It's a message that we've heard from the governor. It's also a message that we heard from Mayor Frey. But you mentioned the numbers. Your force has been cut by about a third since those 2020 protests.
Yep.
Also, listen, you've said that there's been no coordination between ICE and ICE agents and your police department as they've carried out operations in your background, or in your backyard. I heard you say that you felt like this incident was predictable. I'm curious that, if there is no more communication, do you feel like this is something that could potentially happen again?
Yeah, of course it is. And I have literally been saying this, even the day before this happened, that I was worried that we were going to have a tragedy. And that's exactly what happened. The loss of any human life is a tragedy, but it would be tragic if a federal law enforcement officer was seriously hurt or killed, any human life at all. And I think we've seen, the underlying issue, in my view, in what has been happening is not that federal law enforcement is enforcing federal law. It is how that law enforcement activity is being conducted. And that goes to the root of professional law enforcement in this country, our obligation to ensure that we are leading learning organizations so that we are not repeating the same mistakes over and over again, so that we are not causing unnecessary damage, both to the trust that is in the community, but also ensuring that we are employing sound tactics so that we are not unnecessarily escalating situations. Law enforcement in this country has been training, especially this police department for the last 5 years, has been training very purposefully to try and do everything in our power to ensure that our officers are de-escalating situations, doing things tactically sound, and not placing anyone's lives unnecessarily at risk.
Yeah, and Chief, look, we've heard from the governor that the FBI is choosing to freeze out the state's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension in its investigation. You've held your post since about 2020. You've seen the protests related to either George Floyd or Kim Potter. Can you talk about just how important transparency is for this community?
Well, I've been the police chief here since 2022. I came in the aftermath of the destruction of the city and really just the depletion of the police department. And it is something that remains very raw It is both the residents of this town as well as the cops that are serving that community that have healed some, but there's still some open wounds there. And our cops have been working extremely hard to try and rebuild trust in places where we have lost it, and then trying to build trust in parts of the community where we never had it. And that's why we do everything possible to address crime and violence and do it in a manner that does not needlessly cause damage to our reputation or the community trust.
Chief O'Hara, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.